Welcome to my channel Valuable Coins, All World. If you've ever wondered if those old coins you have lying around could be worth a fortune, you're in the right place. In today's video, we're diving into some of the rarest US coins, revealing their jaw-dropping values that will leave you amazed. Stick with us till the end. You won't want to miss what these hidden treasures could be worth. Let's get started. Top 1. Have you ever reached into your pocket, pulled out some change, and tossed it aside without a second thought? It's something we all do. After all, how valuable can a simple quarter really be? But what if I told you that one of those ordinary-looking coins, one that millions of people handled without noticing, could be hiding a story worth thousands? That's exactly the case with the 1979 United States Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, it looks like any other. It features the familiar, stoic profile of George Washington on the front, the sharp word "Liberty" above his head, and the national motto, "In God We Trust," to the left. Flip it over, and there's the proud American eagle, wings spread wide, perched on a bundle of arrows, with olive branches below, symbols of strength and peace. For most people, the design is so familiar, it barely registers anymore. But in the coin collecting world, this particular quarter from 1979 holds a special place. Let's rewind to the late 1970s. The United States was going through economic changes, inflation was on the rise, and the cost of producing coins was being closely monitored. By that time, quarters were no longer made from silver. Since 1965, they had been struck with a copper core clad in a layer of nickel. Millions of these clad coins were produced every year to meet the demands of a growing economy. And in 1979, both the Philadelphia and Denver mints were running at full capacity. That year, the Philadelphia Mint struck more than 500 million quarters. The Denver Mint produced even more. With numbers like that, it would be easy to assume that every 1979 quarter is exactly the same, common, boring, and worth no more than its face value. But that assumption would be a big mistake, because hidden among those hundreds of millions are a few coins that are far from ordinary. You see, sometimes during the minting process, things go slightly wrong. A die might shift, a planchet might be out of place, or a coin might be struck more than once. These mistakes are rare, but when they happen, they create what's known as a mint error. And that's where things get really interesting. Some 1979 Washington quarters have been discovered with fascinating errors. One of the most intriguing involves a misalignment between the obverse and reverse designs. Imagine flipping a coin and realizing the back isn't quite where it should be. That kind of error is known as a rotational misstrike, and it's just one of several types that can occur. There have also been examples of 1979 quarters struck off-center, where a portion of the design is missing due to the planchet not being properly positioned during the strike. These errors are easy to spot and highly sought after by collectors. Then there are the even rarer double strikes, where the coin is struck twice before being ejected from the press. The result is a ghostly, doubled image that looks almost surreal. Even coins without obvious visual errors can be valuable if they're found in high-grade, uncirculated condition. Remember, these coins were made to be used, handled by millions of hands, thrown into drawers, dropped on sidewalks, and clinked together in cash registers. So finding a 1979 quarter that is perfectly preserved, with sharp edges, clean surfaces, and a mirror-like finish? That's like finding a needle in a haystack. And believe it or not, there are even stories of 1979 quarters being struck on the wrong metal altogether, like a blank intended for a foreign coin or a planchet meant for a different denomination. These rare mismatches make for incredibly valuable collector's items. So, what happens when one of these rare, error-filled, perfectly preserved 1979 quarters is discovered? First, it's sent to a grading agency, professional experts who examine the coin under magnification, assess its authenticity, and assign it a grade. If it turns out to be a genuine U.S. Mint error in outstanding condition, it can attract massive attention in the coin collecting community. The excitement builds as collectors line up, ready to bid. They know they're not just buying a coin, they're buying history. A frozen moment in time when something went wrong at the mint, and a tiny piece of metal became a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. The bids rise. The tension builds. And when the auctioneer brings down the gavel, the final number stuns the room. That 1979 Washington quarter, small enough to fit in the palm of your hand, with its rare characteristics and exceptional quality, was sold for $75,000. Yes, $75,000. So the next time you're handed a quarter as change, take a second look. Check the date. Examine the details. Because hiding in your loose change could be a coin that turns out to be far more valuable than you ever imagined. Sometimes, history isn't locked away in a museum. Sometimes, it's right there in your pocket. Top 2. Have you ever looked at the coins in your pocket and wondered if any of them might be more than just spare change? Every once in a while, a coin that's supposed to be common turns out to be incredibly rare, like a treasure hidden in plain sight. And one of the most fascinating examples of this is the 1967 Washington quarter dollar, a coin that millions of people have handled, spent, and forgotten. Yet a few special versions of it have gone on to fetch life-changing amounts of money. Let's step back for a moment and talk about the Washington quarter. First introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington, this coin quickly became a permanent fixture in American currency. For decades, the design remained nearly unchanged, and the quarter became one of the most widely used and easily recognized coins in circulation. By the mid-1960s, a major shift had taken place in U.S. coinage. Silver, once the standard metal for dimes, quarters, and half dollars, was becoming too expensive. In 1965, the U.S. Mint stopped producing 90% silver quarters and replaced them with clad versions, coins made of a copper core with a nickel outer layer. This change affected all quarters going forward, including those minted in 1967. Now here's where it gets interesting. In 1967, the mint was under pressure. There had been a massive coin shortage just a few years earlier, and the government wanted to ensure that coin production was as efficient as possible. That year, the mint didn't produce proof sets or uncirculated mint sets for collectors. That means very few coins from 1967 were preserved in pristine condition straight from the mint. Almost all of them went directly into everyday circulation. But as with any mass production process, things don't always go perfectly. And it's those imperfections that spark the interest of coin collectors. While most 1967 quarters look and feel the same, a few rare versions have turned out to be minting anomalies, error coins, or varieties that were produced under unusual conditions. These errors, when combined with exceptional condition, have made certain 1967 quarters incredibly desirable to collectors. One known type of error involves what's called a double die. This happens when the die used to stamp the coin shifts slightly between strikes, resulting in a doubled image on the coin's surface. You might notice this doubling on the lettering, especially in the word liberty or the phrase, "In God we trust." It's subtle, but once you see it, you'll never forget it. Collectors go wild for coins with visible doubling, especially when they're found on a high-mintage coin like the 1967 quarter. Another potential anomaly includes coins that were struck on planchets intended for other denominations or even foreign coins. These rare, wrong planchet errors change everything about the coin's weight, color, and texture. These are incredibly rare finds, but when they show up, they make headlines. What also makes 1967 quarters interesting is the fact that they have no mint mark. Normally, you'd find a small letter like P, D, or S near the date to indicate which mint facility produced the coin. But in 1967, all quarters were intentionally struck without mint marks to discourage hoarding and collecting during a time of coin shortages. So if you do come across a 1967 quarter, it should not have a mint mark. If it does, that's a sign something truly unusual has happened. Now imagine this, a 1967 Washington quarter that not only has a rare minting error, but also has been preserved in immaculate condition. A coin that somehow escaped the wear and tear of everyday circulation, kept safe for decades without a single fingerprint or scratch. Such a coin is virtually impossible to find, but not entirely. A few of these rare examples have surfaced over the years. They've been submitted to grading companies, where experts meticulously analyze them under magnification and assign a numerical grade based on their condition. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. And when you combine a rare error with a near-perfect grade, you get something truly special, a coin that collectors dream about. Eventually, one of these exceptional 1967 quarters made its way to auction. It had everything going for it: sharp details, brilliant luster, and a certified error that set it apart from the hundreds of millions of other quarters minted that year. As the auction began, collectors watched closely. The bids came fast. The room buzzed with anticipation. Everyone knew this was no ordinary coin. It was a piece of American minting history, and when the final bid was placed, and the gavel came down, the price sent shockwaves through the coin collecting world. That single 1967 Washington quarter dollar, ordinary in appearance to the untrained eye, but a true rarity to experts, was sold for $120,000. Yes, $120,000. So before you toss that quarter into a vending machine or drop it into a coin jar, take a moment to look at it more closely. Because behind that familiar face of George Washington might be a treasure that's been hiding in plain sight all along. And who knows? The next big discovery could be sitting right in your pocket. Top 3. Every day, millions of people handle coins without giving them a second glance. Quarters pass through drive-thrus, vending machines, cash registers, and pockets without anyone realizing the secrets they might be hiding. But what if one of those coins, seemingly ordinary and dull, was actually a rare gem worth a small fortune? That brings us to one of the most overlooked coins with one of the most surprising backstories: the 1982 Washington quarter dollar. You may think it's just another quarter, but some versions of this coin have shocked collectors and stunned auction houses with their rarity and value. Let's rewind to the early 1980s. The economy in the United States was in transition, with inflation influencing nearly every aspect of life, including coin production. The U.S. Mint, facing increased costs and budget concerns, made a significant decision in 1982 that would unknowingly add a layer of mystery and scarcity to that year's coins. For the first time in years, the Mint discontinued the annual uncirculated coin sets that collectors had relied on. This single move created a ripple effect in the numismatic world, particularly for the humble quarter. In a typical year, uncirculated mint sets help preserve coins in near-perfect condition, coins untouched by daily use, free from scratches and dents, and stored safely in plastic packaging. But in 1982, with no mint sets distributed, virtually all quarters entered regular circulation. That meant almost every single 1982 quarter was exposed to wear and tear, passed from hand to hand, and tossed into drawers, pockets, and coin jars. Pristine examples became rare from the very beginning, but the story doesn't end there. The 1982 Washington quarter was minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, and each had its own quirks. Most notably, the Mint introduced a slight design modification that year, leading to what collectors now refer to as strong and weak varieties of the Denver Mint quarter. The difference lies in the clarity of the date and the mint mark. In the weak version, the date and the D mint mark appear faded or barely visible due to excessive dye wear. In the strong version, those same markings are sharp, bold, and defined. Why does this matter? Because these subtle differences sparked a numismatic phenomenon. Collectors realized that some versions of the 1982 quarter were significantly harder to find in good condition, especially the strong D variety, which became one of the most sought-after modern coins in U.S. history. But there's more. On occasion, mistakes happen at the mint that go unnoticed until a collector spots them years later. These are known as mint errors, and when they show up on a coin that's already rare, it sends shockwaves through the community. Some 1982 quarters have been discovered with off-center strikes, double dies, or struck on incorrect planchets. These errors are incredibly rare, and when combined with the coin's already limited availability in high grades, they become extraordinarily valuable. Imagine stumbling upon one of these error coins at a flea market or spotting one in a jar of old change. It may not look like much to the average person, but to someone with a trained eye, that small piece of metal could be a once-in-a-lifetime find. It could carry the perfect storm of rarity, condition, and historical significance to make it one of the most treasured coins in the collecting world. The beauty of the 1982 quarter story is that it's a lesson in how quickly circumstances can turn an everyday object into something legendary. A coin produced by the millions became scarce not because it was intentionally rare, but because it was never given the protection of a collector's set. It was minted, circulated, and forgotten. Until years later, someone realized just how special a few of those coins really were. One particular example of the 1982 quarter, struck with a unique minting error and preserved in near-perfect condition, made headlines when it appeared at auction. Its sharp detail, luster, and rarity stunned collectors and drew bidders from around the world. The room buzzed with excitement. Online forums lit up. Coin dealers whispered about it for weeks, and when the final bid was cast, the value placed on that single quarter was nothing short of breathtaking. That very special 1982 Washington quarter dollar sold for $63,000. Yes, $63,000. So the next time you're counting your change, don't be too quick to spend that quarter. Look at the date. Study the details. Examine the mint mark. Because tucked inside a pile of pocket change could be one of the rarest coins of its time. One that holds a piece of history and a surprising fortune waiting to be discovered. Top 4. Most of us don't think twice about the coins we use every day. They're tossed into pockets, dropped into vending machines, or saved in jars without a second thought. But what if one of those coins, a simple, everyday quarter, was hiding a secret? What if something as ordinary as a 1991 Washington quarter dollar was actually worth more than a car, more than some people's yearly salary? Today, we're going to uncover the hidden story of this coin that may be sitting in your collection, or even your pocket. Let's start with what most people know. The Washington quarter has been a staple of American currency since 1932. It was originally introduced to honor the 200th birthday of the first president of the United States, George Washington. With his iconic profile on the front and the fierce, proud eagle on the reverse, the design became instantly recognizable. It stayed largely unchanged for decades, making it one of the most familiar coins in American history. By 1991, the Washington quarter was still going strong. Millions upon millions were produced that year at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. These coins were struck using a copper-nickel-clad composition, rather than the silver used in earlier decades. Because of that, most people assume quarters from the 1990s have little to no value beyond their face, just another coin in the mix. But every once in a while, something extraordinary happens at the mint. Mistakes. That's what coin collectors love most. Mint errors are like buried treasure in the world of numismatics. In 1991, amidst the billions of coins being produced, a few slipped through quality control, coins with striking errors, misaligned dies, doubled images, or even coins struck on the wrong planchet. These rare anomalies take a standard coin and turn it into a collector's dream. One type of error that has appeared on 1991 quarters is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank isn't properly aligned with the die, resulting in a partial image. Some coins are just slightly off, but others are dramatically shifted, creating a one-of-a-kind piece that collectors prize. The more dramatic the error and the better the condition, the higher the value climbs. Another possible error includes double die coins, where the die used to strike the image moves slightly between strikes, causing a shadow or doubling effect. This is especially noticeable in the date or in the lettering. These errors are rare and exciting because they're visible to the naked eye and tell a very specific story about how the coin was made. But what makes 1991 quarters even more intriguing is the possibility of wrong planchet strikes. Every denomination has its own size, weight, and metal content. On rare occasions, a quarter is accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a dime or even a foreign coin. These pieces end up being lighter or smaller than usual, and their uniqueness makes them incredibly desirable in the collector's market. Then there's condition. Most 1991 quarters have been through the ringer, used and abused for over 3 decades. So when one is found in mint state, with original luster, no scratches, and clean edges, it's a big deal. Combine that pristine condition with a mint error or unique strike, and you have a coin that becomes the centerpiece of any collection. Now picture this. A coin dealer examining an estate collection stumbles upon a 1991 Washington quarter. At first glance, it seems typical. But as they inspect it under magnification, they realize it has a rare off-center strike, crisp detail, and surfaces untouched by circulation. It's graded by a professional service and comes back with a near-perfect rating. What happens next is the stuff of numismatic legends. The coin is sent to auction. Word spreads quickly among collectors, investors, and dealers. A rare 1991 quarter with error and exceptional condition doesn't appear on the market often. The bids come in fast, and before long, it's not just a coin, it's a spectacle. The room is tense, every new bid drawing gasps from the crowd. People are calling it one of the finest examples of a 1991 error quarter ever seen. And then, the hammer drops. That small, ordinary-looking coin, once worth just 25 cents, was sold for $75,000. Yes, $75,000. So the next time you come across a quarter from 1991, don't be so quick to spend it. Take a close look. Examine the edges. Study the date. Flip it in the light. You never know what you might find. That ordinary coin in your hand could be something extraordinary. A mistake from the mint. A gift from history. A hidden treasure. waiting to be discovered. Top 5. How many times have you reached into your wallet, pulled out some coins, and paid for something without thinking twice? Quarters are part of our daily lives, small, shiny, and often ignored. But what if one of those coins was not just currency, but a rare and valuable piece of American history? That's exactly what we're diving into today, the fascinating story behind the 1988 United States Washington quarter dollar. A coin that millions of Americans have used, but only a handful have ever looked at closely enough to realize just how special it might be. The Washington quarter has been a staple in U.S. coinage since 1932. Its design is iconic. George Washington's noble profile on the front, facing left, with the bold word "Liberty" overhead and the national motto "In God We Trust" beside him. The reverse features the mighty eagle, wings spread in a symbol of strength and freedom, perched above a bundle of arrows and framed by olive branches. It's a piece of American heritage that has passed through generations. By the time 1988 arrived, the U.S. Mint was operating like a well-oiled machine. The Philadelphia and Denver mints produced hundreds of millions of quarters that year, striking them from copper-nickel-clad composition, what had become the standard material since the government stopped using silver in 1965. At first glance, these quarters don't seem remarkable. They're everywhere. They're common. They're forgettable. But the truth is, some 1988 quarters are anything but ordinary. What makes some 1988 Washington quarters stand out are the small, often invisible to the naked eye differences. The kinds of imperfections and anomalies that only become legendary in the eyes of collectors. These aren't mistakes in the traditional sense. These are mint errors, unexpected results of an industrial process that occasionally produces something beautifully flawed and truly unique. One of the most notable types of error is the double die, which occurs when the coin's die shifts slightly between strikes. It results in a subtle but clear doubling effect on the lettering or the date. While this error is well known on other coin years, finding it on a 1988 quarter is a rare and exciting discovery. Imagine seeing the word "Liberty" appear almost like a shadow behind itself, or the date looking just a bit bolder than normal. It's not a printing trick, it's a minting error, and collectors go wild for it. Another error that can make a 1988 quarter exceptionally valuable is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank coin planchet isn't perfectly aligned in the press, and the design is struck off to one side. Some off-center coins only show a slight shift, while others are so off-kilter that part of the design is missing entirely. The rarer and more dramatic the off-center strike, and the better the coin's condition, the more desirable it becomes. There have also been examples of wrong planchet errors, where a quarter is mistakenly struck on a blank intended for another denomination, like a dime, or even a foreign coin. These quarters end up being the wrong size, weight, or color. They stand out immediately to collectors who know what to look for. And because they're so rare, they can sell for surprising amounts. But rarity alone isn't enough. Condition matters a lot. Most 1988 quarters have spent decades in circulation, scraped and scuffed in pockets, registers, and change jars. That's why finding one in pristine, uncirculated condition is incredibly difficult. The few that were somehow preserved, perhaps tucked away in a collection or forgotten in a coin roll, are the ones that become highly sought after, especially if they also feature an error. Now imagine this scenario. A lifelong collector is sorting through rolls of old quarters, searching for that one special piece. They come across a 1988 quarter that immediately looks different. They take a closer look under magnification. The date is crisp. The strike is sharp. There's a visible doubling in the text. It's flawless. The coin is sent for professional grading, and the results are staggering. It's classified as a mint error in near-perfect condition. News travels fast in the coin-collecting world. Dealers, collectors, and investors all take notice. This isn't just any quarter. This is a once-in-a-generation find. The coin is put up for auction, and the buzz begins. Online forums are lit up with speculation. Veteran collectors prepare their bids. The auction is heated, with offers climbing higher and higher until finally, the virtual gavel drops. That one tiny coin, barely bigger than a button, and worth only 25 cents at face value, is sold for an astonishing price. That 1988 Washington quarter dollar was purchased for $55,000. Yes, $55,000. So the next time you come across a quarter, don't be so quick to spend it. Look closer. Check the year. Examine the details. Because what looks like a simple coin could be hiding an incredible story and maybe even a small fortune. Coins like the 1988 Washington quarter remind us that history, mystery, and value can be found in the most unexpected places.